Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you are listening and tuning in from. Welcome to this week's Lifestyle Pirates with me, Big J, and him, Adriano.
Hello.
We are on episode 68, and this week we've got a very interesting fellow podcaster. We've got Nicole Colantoni. How are you, Nicole?
I'm well, thank you.
Welcome to the madness.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming.
Thanks.
You all right?
Yeah, I'm nervous.
Yeah.
Don't be nervous. Look, you're normally the one asking the questions.
know, exactly.
Now it's a bit of a role reversal.
Yeah, I love that.
So let's get into it. We're going to talk relationships, which
Okay.
actually could be my problem, getting into it too quickly.
Yeah.
But, you have a podcast called Love Uncensored.
Correct.
You are a certified dating and relationship coach,
Also correct.
follow podcast host, which was ranked #1 in Australia.
Yeah, once upon a time. Good days.
Wow,
It's
nice.
still once upon a time, Tiger. Well done.
Yeah.
And you also write for Pop Sugar Australia
That's correct.
in the dating columnist bit.
Yes,
So you love this space.
I do. Yeah.
Question for you: why did you change the name? Because it used to be called Single at 30.
Yeah.
Why did you change it to Love Uncensored?
Yeah, good question. So originally when I started Single at 30, I was obviously single at 30, and I really wanted to start a podcast that sort of empowered women. And then when I launched the podcast, basically I wanted to respond to my audience and grow and evolve with them. And it just so happened that my audience started to include men and couples. And then I also started coaching men and couples. And so I just wanted the brand to represent where the podcast was actually at.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Did you get much feedback on it?
I haven't actually.
Yeah.
I suppose when I first announced that I was rebranding, I got a lot of support for it. But since actually airing the episodes, I haven't heard much.
Yeah.
Was it a hard decision?
No, it felt right. I'm one of those people who likes to listen to my gut instincts, and it just felt right. And yeah, I didn't want to just only represent a niche of the market. I wanted to represent the whole market. Yeah.
So how does someone at 30, because I'm assuming that's when you kicked off your podcast, hence the name,
Yeah.
decide they want to become a dating and relationship coach?
Yeah, okay, good question. So I have been coaching since 2016, and I was doing life and mindset coaching while I was single. And I was single for a total of 9 years. And after each of my dates, I would come home and send voice notes to all of my friends, well, a close group of friends, telling them how my dates were going. And obviously it was through a certain perspective, given the type of work that I was doing. And they were like, you need to air this to a wider audience. And I was like, okay, I need a one-stop shop, that sort of covers exactly what I'm trying to say. And then just the name Single at 30 came to me. And the rest is history.
Being a lifestyle and mindset coach, would you approach a date differently to someone who maybe was just working as a corporate 9 to 5?
Yeah.
Are you looking for things? Are you analysing a little bit more? Or
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. I think there's two parts to that. I feel like because of my line of work, I knew how to get really good at dating. Like dating, there's an art to dating, right? And so I would approach a date the same way I would approach most clients, trying to make them feel good, and the focus being on them. But also I would be focusing on my screening process, right? And I, because I work one-on-one with people all day, every day, it usually takes me about 30 seconds to 5 minutes to suss out somebody. So within 5 minutes of being on a date, I knew the outcome of the date.
We're 4 minutes and 12, so we'll see how we go. We'll see how we go. And so what was, don't mention names, Jesus.
He wasn't one of them.
What was some of the kind of things, the stories you were telling your mates? What were some of these voice memos?
Yeah, obviously I would only really talk to them about the dates that were traumatic.
Were there many?
Yeah.
right.
Looking back, I would often question, why me? Why is this happening to me? I don't give off a vibe that, I wanted to invite that sort of energy or treatment from people. But now I realize, it's because this was going to form my life work, There has been nothing I haven't seen, heard, or experienced firsthand.
Oh, you got to give us some stories.
Okay, not naming names.
No, absolutely
yeah,
not.
Okay.
Let's call them Alvin, Simon, and Theodore.
Okay, I already forgotten their names. But let's go with Theodore. So Theodore, We went on 3 dates back to back. We met on Tinder, actually, I think. Yeah, Tinder or Hinge. And one of his first questions to me was, what's your Snapchat? And that's usually an orange flag to me, like a warning sign. Like, you know, like I was, 29, 30, and I was like, come on, like, you know, don't you want to get to know me as a person? Why do you want to look at my social straight away? Anyways, we went on our first date and he was very respectful, you know, didn't put his hands on me, nothing, you know. I did most of the talking in terms of asking questions, yada, yada, yada. Anyways, second date, pretty similar situation. You know, we just went for dinner. Again, he was very respectful. The third date, he got white girl wasted, and because it's Sydney, the bars close pretty early, and he was like, why don't you just come back to my house for a drink? And as I always do, I preface like, sure, happy to do so, but I'm not sleeping with you. Anyways, we went back to his house and I needed to go to the bathroom. So he was like, cool, I'll make a drink. You go to the bathroom. I go to the bathroom. I come out of the bathroom. And when I come out of the bathroom, he's naked. And I was like, what are you doing? And I was like laughing. I was like, this is ridiculous. What are you doing? He then grabs my hand and puts it on his dick and then pushes me onto the couch with him. And obviously tries to insist that we have sex. And I'm like, I'm not going to have sex with you. Like, what are you doing? And then he tries to take off my clothes. And when I tell him no, he's like, is it because you're embarrassed of your body? And I was like, no, I just really don't want to have sex with you. And then one of the things that still stands out to me to this day was when I finally said, I'm absolutely not having sex with you. He goes, why? Is it because you have a deformed vagina?
What the fuck is wrong with this fucking bloke? Sorry.
Yeah.
Theodore.
Yeah.
I mean, Theodore, what?
I would expect that from Alvin.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, so that's just an example of the sort of experiences I had when I was single.
There's so many things that I've picked up on. One, that bloke's an absolute fucking knob. The other one is the screening process that you've mentioned. Like, how much has dating changed? Like, the whole screening process, like how you, like within the first usually actually you do 5 to 10 minutes, you understand what someone's like. But you're going through all these questions in your head. It's like, yeah, this, red flag, orange flag. You're going through all of these sort of checklists. Mm-hmm. Fuck, it must be hard out there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it's hard. Yeah. For sure.
Third date, you get old mate Theodore.
White gold wasted. I'm taking. Yeah. I've never heard that. I'm taking. No, I'm taking that. Absolutely.
No. You've never heard white gold wasted? No. Oh wow. No. Okay, you're welcome.
Yeah.
He came up with a perler before.
I know.
You know that no one's ever heard. Well, and then you haven't even heard white girl wasted.
Totally.
Make up my own stuff. Give me another story. A better story.
That was horrible, but it was
horrible. That's more of a happier story. Like you must have come home and gone.
No, I don't want happy shit. No.
Yeah.
Actually, that's horrible. Sorry.
Happy stories.
I'm not talking like Walt Disney stuff, but you might have come home from one and gone, hey girls, this one, I'm looking forward to date number 2.com.
Yeah, not really, no. I was pretty unsuccessful when it came to dating. Like if it was a good day, typically my dates would go from anywhere between 3 to like 8 hours, because we would just like get involved in, the chat. Yeah. And so they were good dates. But like I said, within 5 minutes I already knew they weren't going anywhere. Yeah.
Fair play. Wow.
What's it like with... Sorry, I don't know if you were around before Hinge and Tinder, but what's it like dating on those apps these days? Like, it seems to be so impersonal. You just flick up, down, left, right. There's no one. Does anyone go to bars anymore and meet people at bars, or that's just taboo? You don't go up to someone and talk to someone in a bar. Like, it's just weird.
Yeah.
And boomer or whatever.
Yeah, I think dating in Sydney is really hard. I think guys are scared to approach and women come across as really intimidating. I would love nothing more than for people, particularly when I was single, obviously, for guys to approach me. It just didn't happen.
Yeah.
As for the apps, I think they're amazing in terms of like, extending our reach, but the sort of depth that I was looking for wasn't immediately apparent on the apps. Like I joke now with my partner all the time that I wouldn't have swiped right on him. Yeah. He would have had photos of him fishing. He would have had photos of him playing golf or watching the footy or drinking beers with the boys. And I would not have been into that.
But that's normal stuff.
Yeah, I'm not into that.
No. You don't have to.
Yeah.
You don't have to be.
But in the same breath, I would often get guys who would, judge me for, based on the way I looked, right? And so they were oftentimes just looking for an accessory, right? And so they weren't really wanting to date me for the person that I am. So I found it hard to sort of like screen people based on the sort of values that I was looking for, and I found it hard to be appreciated for those values as well. But at the same time, I do think apps are incredible because they do widen your reach.
Yeah. Yeah, but a wider reach doesn't always mean it's good.
No.
There's a lot more crazy people taking their pants off.
But you know what? We had mutuals.
Yeah.
back then. Yeah.
Were they still mutuals after that?
No. Good question.
That's a very aggressive story. Is that a common thing?
For me, it is, yeah.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah.
What was the question? Sorry.
Was that a common thing? Old mate taking his kid off.
Yeah.
Right, next.
Sorry, John.
No, because I was curious on the apps as well, because you have a really good, you've got a really good quote on your website that says, "Never before have we been more connected, yet never before has it been so difficult to attract a long-term partner and sustain a healthy and happy relationship."
Yeah.
But there's a shed load to talk about there.
Yeah.
But with social media, like we'll talk about the social media bit, but let's stick on the apps. Do you think that's affected the way that we engage, the way that people do pick up their expectations? It's almost turned it into a transaction rather than an experience.
Yeah. I mean, dating apps have gamified dating, right? And it's like, I always like to use the saying, like, it's the fast food swipe right culture, right? People are constantly searching for more. And so I feel like people are just approaching dating as if there's like endless options, and they're, not taking the person that they're dating seriously, or they might be talking to 10 or 20 people at the same time. So in a sense, yes, it's given us more access to more people, but in terms of looking for those meaningful, long-lasting connections, it's 100% more difficult, right? I think a lot of men are now using dating apps for...
Just so you know, we're going to be thrown under the bus a lot.
No, I'm not a man hater. But, I think they're using it for one-night stands, whereas a lot of women are looking for relationships, right? And, something I love to research and look into is the 80-20 rule, how 80% of people on dating apps want to date the top 20%, and then the top 20% of people have access to, 80% of people on the dating apps. So, it's constantly that game of like cat and mouse, and people striving for, people that are seemingly in their reach but also out of their reach.
I forgot what I was going to say. Oh, yeah, that's right. You mentioned like it's gamified that, and there's, people that are looking for long-term relationships and people that aren't. Aren't there different apps for those things, or is that all just one cesspit? Like are there ones that are just, there's an app where people are just trying to find meaningful relationships, and then there's a hookup app, or are they all hookup apps?
Yeah, so Bumble's the female empowerment app where women make the first move. Okay. Hinge is typically known as the relationship app, because I think their tagline is something along the lines of like, find your last first date. And then, Tinder has a reputation as being the hookup app.
Okay.
I don't think that they necessarily want to be known as that, but because they were one of the first and most prominent apps, they've just gained that reputation over time.
Oh, it's super popular, huh?
Yeah. Yeah, I was on Tinder. Yeah.
You on Tinder?
Nah, the grinder. I was going to say sauce.
So why else do you think it's hard for people to maintain and find long-term relationships?
Yeah, because I think that people don't know who they are or what they're looking for.
It's full.
As a starter, I also don't think that we've been taught how to be in relationship, right? I mean, we don't even know how to be in relationship with ourselves, let alone with other people. So many of my clients come to me with just the most depressing mindsets, and they're riddled in self-doubt, and, they have just such low self-esteem. And I'm like, well, of course you're not going to find somebody, who loves you for you. You don't even love you for you, right? And so first and foremost, I work on their relationship with themselves. But then they do get into a relationship and they don't know how to maintain it, because they don't believe that they're lovable, or they don't even know how to, express the love they have for their partner, right? So many of my clients view conflict in such a negative way, whereas I say, well, conflict's actually a positive, right?
It's growth.
Yeah, conflict should bring you closer if you're both committed to the health and happiness of the relationship. So people either avoid conflict or just lose control when in conflict. They view it as a threat to themselves and the relationship.
And so your clients because I noticed we're speaking about female clients, but you also do couples as well.
Yeah.
So let's focus on the females.
Yeah.
Are they
Giggity.
and in their first relationship? Are they kind of second relationship? Are they separated? Are you seeing kind of trends? Where do you typically come in and help?
Yeah. So a lot of them have been single for a really long time. They can't get past the first date mark. And then there are a lot of females coming to me because they've just never experienced a healthy relationship and don't think it's possible for them.
I listened to a podcast with Esther Perel.
Yeah,
we were speaking
love
about
her.
before we press record. She talks a lot about perfectionism and this kind of need and desire. Everything's got to be perfect from the first day onwards. And I think back in the day, maybe before social media, we're bringing it up again, but you were able to go on a first date and it might have been something there. You know, maybe that 80-20 rule. You're like, oh, this is pretty good, but we can work on stuff. It's almost like a little ball of clay to mold. Are you finding that a lot of people now are just looking for that perfect from the out?
Yeah, absolutely. And I was one of them, 100%. Like, I was looking for the guy who was spiritual but also career driven, who was also really good looking but also intellectual, who didn't play sport or drink beers with the boys. You know, that doesn't exist. There's no such thing as perfection. And I'm such an advocate for the slow burn, right? You know, I used to go or approach dates with this huge list of criteria that they had to tick. And of course, I wasn't getting past a first date, or they weren't getting past a first date with me, because there is no such thing as perfection and I'm not perfect, right? And so now my philosophy towards dating is try to find somebody whose values are aligned with your values. There might not be that spark or like immediate connection, but if there's enough there, just go on the second date, go on the third date, right? Get to know them on a deeper level and then make an informed decision.
And then, so how about the BBD, the bigger, better deal? Do you get a lot of that as well, where you just get a lot of churn?
Yeah, absolutely. So I like to call that the curse of comparison, you know, and I think we're all guilty of that because of social media and dating apps, right? You know, it's like that more culture that we were talking about.
Yeah. Well, as soon as Facebook arrived, MySpace, that's how old I am.
Same here, mate. Same here.
Do you remember LimeWire? No.
Yeah, I do, mate. I blew up like 5 computers with LimeWire.
all your exes came back, didn't they? All your ex-girlfriends, all your ex-boyfriends, they all came back because you connected with them. And, you know, a bit curious, wasn't it?
So that is something I see a lot in my clients. They're constantly like stalking their exes and comparing it to their current partners or the people that they're dating. And I just tell them you absolutely cannot do that.
That's not healthy.
Yeah, it's not healthy, exactly. And also just from a neural pathway perspective, you're like constantly firing the same neural pathway. So your brain is literally attaching every time you do that. Yeah. So, but you know, in terms of dating, I think the curse of comparison is real for a lot of people that I'm working with, and it's creating really unrealistic expectations. These couple goals, relationship goals, people flying first class around the world after a first date, it's not real. You know, people are just...
Well, no, they end up about 3 years later on Netflix because they're the Tinder swindler.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
like,
a good show.
We forget that people are just, you know, showing their highlight reels. You know, that's not reality. And I say the actual true love and true romance is in the chaos. You know, people are so scared to lead with vulnerability or show their worst sides. I go, but when is closeness created in relationships? You know, either when you're on top of the world in those moments of elation, or you're hitting rock bottom and you're leaning on people, you know? And so let's not like shy away from those moments, because that's what creates like, you know, life and you know who we are.
But they're the stories, they're the growth.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
It's like that kind of pleasure pain thing. You've got to go through a bit of pain before there's
100%. Yeah, exactly.
Sometimes the pain is the pleasure.
That's a different episode.
Yeah, where are you going with that? I didn't
Sorry,
realize.
I forgot where I was.
Yeah, didn't realize we were talking about fetishes just now.
Don't kink shame, guys. Come on, man.
That's actually one of Adriana's questions. So when we talk about what did you say? Comparison.
Curse of comparison.
Are people comparing themselves to their friends, other people on social media, or exes? What are they comparing themselves to?
Yes, and yes.
All
of the above.
It's like a cesspit of just toxicity.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, and you know, I think in terms of exes, it's just wondering what if or what could have been, right? And then, you know, comparing their current date or current partner to that person and whether they had a better connection with their ex or the person they're currently seeing. But, you know, oftentimes I just think people think that their relationship isn't as romantic as it should be, or like we've been discussing, as perfect as it should be. And then they see photos of, you know, couples traveling the world or on cute dates at fancy restaurants, and they think that's what it should look like. Why can't I afford to do the same things? And they think that their relationship is somehow inferior. And as nice as it is to have access to those things, you know, trips halfway across the world or nice dinners on a Friday or Saturday night, that doesn't have anything to do with a successful, long-lasting relationship. It really doesn't, you know? And so I think that our values and expectations are sometimes warped when it comes to relationships.
Yeah. So what are some of your kind of key components that you will try and bring into a, you know, quote unquote successful relationship? What are some of the things that you're bringing into with your clients?
Yeah, well, so we have to get really clear on what our core values are. Like if a core value of mine is passion and drive and family, and my partner hates his job and has no interest in being a dad or having kids, obviously we're not aligned, right? So number one, we need to identify if our core values are, you know, compatible with one another or in direct conflict. And then I'm also always like, let's get clear on what your deal breakers and non-negotiables are, right? Like if your deal breaker is smoking and you're dating a smoker, you're constantly going to be criticizing them, right? And that's not going to make them feel good, and it's going to cause conflict in your relationship. Or if you're a vegan, you know, or a non-drinker.
Back episodes, vegans.
Right, yeah. But, you know, I personally couldn't date a vegan. Food is my love language. So I love nothing more than sharing my, you know, meals with my partner. Yeah. So I'm really clear about that, and I would lead with that. It's called hardballing. Like, have those hard chats in the beginning. There's an art to it so that you don't sound like you're attacking them. Yeah. But you need to get clear on those things very soon. Like when I was single, I would go on dates, particularly towards my late 20s. And I kid you not, most first dates, the guys would sit me down and be like, I want 3 kids. I want to start within the next year. And, you know, this is like how I see my life unfolding. And I'd be like, hi, my name's Nicole. Lovely to meet you. I'm not a baby factory. Like, I've always been like of the opinion that it's more important for me to meet the right person than become a mother.
Is that not what, I mean, do you sometimes think that that's actually what men think women wanted to hear?
So I did.
I love the clip.
I actually did a podcast interview with a couple who are a success story from Tinder. They met on Tinder, and we were unpacking it, and the guy was like, it's such a compliment to you. And I was like, is it? And then we basically concluded that they probably were saying that thinking that that's what I wanted to hear. But at the same time, I also think many of them really were telling the truth. Like, you know, they were mid to late 30s and they were ready.
But good on them for saying the truth.
Yeah,
you know?
100%.
Like, it takes a lot of balls to come out and just say that straight off the bat.
I think it's heavy chat for first date.
date.
Yeah.
Like, that's a heavy line.
Yeah.
And then it's like, can I get your order? No,
Yeah.
just a bill, please.
So entrees? What do you want? 3 kids.
Literally. I think it's heavy chat for first date.
3 kids. No, fuck off.
Yeah.
Fast food order,
I've never seen you so feisty, mate.
I think it's great third date chat, you know, but first date chat, I think it's just, do you get along? Do you enjoy each other's company? How do you make each other feel, right? If you're not able to be yourself around them, it's probably not a good sign.
But isn't that's sort of the excitement of a first date, is that kind of butterflies, that kind of, you don't want to be too serious. You want to kind of sound things out and be a bit fun and a bit banter, and that's the good times. You know?
Yeah, it's as good as it gets.
So you don't want to get too heavy too quickly.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey?
It's giving me anxiety just thinking about it.
Yeah.
Right, okay. I've totally lost my train of thought now.
So
you were talking about some of the tools, actually. You were saying about some of the things that you give your clients.
Yeah, and so...
So your non-negotiables, your values...
Yeah, and your deal breakers, right? Like, get really, really clear on that. But also...
Not the first date.
There are ways to pick up on that. Like, if they're drinking heaps, or if they're smoking, or, you know, when they talk about work, they're just not into it, or they sound like they're obsessed with work, you can pick up on their values, and you can, you know, identify if that's, you know. But
I sat across the table next to a couple that were having a first date, and it was a little Thai restaurant, and the drinks menu, and he was great, but did the chair thing, you know, must have been British. I was like, go on, San. Did the chair thing, what would you like for drink? She said, I'll just have a water. And he said, I'll have a beer. And it was, oh, you drink, do you?
Awkward.
And I was like, I shuffled the chair over. This is going to be good.
Oh wow!
Safe to say they didn't go past the wontons.
Yeah.
But I was like, Jesus.
Yeah, I feel like body language is super revealing on dates as well.
Yeah.
I can always suss out the couples that are.
So
gonna
talk
make
through
it.
body language then.
Yeah, and it's
'Cause
something that
you don't get this on Tinder, do you?
Yeah, no, no. I mean, it's something that I talk to a lot of my female and male clients, but mostly female clients about, the ones who struggle to get past that first date. I'm like, well, what's your body language like? Specifically heterosexual, couples or dynamics, men are looking for signs, right? So it's eye contact.
We need help.
Yeah,
Men need help.
You need instruction, right? You really do, and that's why dating is an art. Yeah, and often you miss the signs, which is when it gets annoying.
Just put it on a T-shirt then. Like, do you know what I mean? That's why I've got the questions written down.
You do the rolling title just constantly.
Main course. Made it.
Literally, but what you're saying is important, because I always say, it's such an unrealistic expectation to just assume that our partners are mind readers. Like, if you're not making direct requests, please don't be passive aggressive or just explode at your partner. Like, you have to communicate, right? And it's the same in dating, there needs to be agreements on how it's going to work, right?
It's a great point. I'm going to highlight that one.
Yeah. Yeah, literally.
Sorry, carry on.
But as for body language, just okay, I always say this. When you're going for a job interview, say it's a corporate job, you wear a certain outfit. You almost have, your answers rehearsed. You know to be polite, only speak when, asked to, that sort of thing. Like, it's almost like an acting gig to a certain extent. Dating is not dissimilar, right? And so when I hear that they put no effort in their outfits, they struggle to smile because they're so nervous, they don't ask questions, they don't, have any physical contact, I'm like, that doesn't sound like a date to me. What were you doing, right? And so you have to sort of, I don't want to say rehearse, because that's not natural, but lean into your dating persona, right?
But see, always after the interview, I'm never the same person. The interview, if you go, I haven't been for an interview for a long time, but, you go for an interview, you act a lot different to when you get the gig. When you get the gig, then, mate, the shirt comes off. That's it. It's party time.
100%.
But, yeah. So, yeah, coming into the thing all rehearsed and everything else like that, I don't know. I feel like maybe I'm not going to be myself. I'm going to be a little bit too polished when I'm not polished at all.
Yeah.
So...
Yeah, but don't be polished.
This petrifies the shit out of me.
So I take it you're not single.
No.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah.
Haven't been for a very long time.
No, but I don't think that you should pretend to be somebody you're not, but just recognize that you're on a date. Yeah. So people do need instruction sometimes. If you like them, let them know in like nuanced, subtle ways. Yeah. Right? The same way, if you want the job, express enthusiasm and tell them why you're fit for the role. Yeah. Right? So, keep like sort of like approach it. It's like with writing, you always write with the reader in mind. Date with the person that you're dating in mind. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
You good?
Yeah, I'm fantastic. I'm writing down notes for no reason.
And so what other themes are you seeing in your clients? What's kind of, I don't want to say what's the kind of thing for this year.
Yeah.
I mean, look, is it post-COVID? Like, is that what's...
No, I'm seeing less of that now. It was a thing last year.
What's that?
People being out of practice because of COVID. Okay.
Do you think, like, all the people that are in relationships, sorry to cut you off,
no, it's okay.
All the people that are in relationships after COVID, starting to see a trend of, all of the picturesque moments and everything that you see aren't all what it's portrayed as. COVID, I think, rattled a few people. I think, people were in close quarters together for a very long time. We're coming out of it now, and then people are just like, fuck it, I just want to do this and that, and completely leaving the life that they've lived for so long. Are you seeing a lot of that? Like, what's that from? Like, why are people all of a sudden, wanting to do something completely different with their lives, and run away, sort of, so to speak? Yeah.
So I think COVID, it was obviously so stressful for a lot of people. I'm an introvert, so I thrived. But for a lot of people, particularly couples in close quarters, what?
I'll ask in a minute.
Okay. So yeah, when you're it's easy when you have busy lives to ignore some of the cracks in your relationship. But when you're in close quarters and forced to hang out 24/7, like, a lot of couples were during COVID, it's going to highlight those cracks a lot more and accelerate, the process of those cracks becoming bigger a lot faster. And so I think that COVID had the ability to make or break relationships. And we're seeing evidence of that. The people that came out the other side stronger are grateful for the experience, right? Whereas other people reevaluated their relationships and were like, this isn't the life that I want to live. And so they parted ways. And for singles, I think that it also encouraged them to really reflect on what they are looking for. So people are a lot more intentional when it comes to dating these days.
I think you're fucking spot on.
Yeah.
Well, you also got to see if you're in a relationship, you also got to see your partner at work.
Yes.
And so he or she might have been an absolute clown that you didn't know that they were like that.
Okay.
Because they've always been in the office.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden that's then in your home. You're on the other side of the room or the other side of the dinner table for some people that I know. And they're like, I can't believe you speak to your staff like that. Or I can't believe you put up with that. And all of a sudden that changed the dynamic of...
Yeah, that's mega.
Because you didn't see that before.
I think what you're saying is so important. I always say this. If you like who your partner is at work, you like them. Right? You have a better chance of liking who they are just across the board. I met my partner at a co-working space and he's not my usual type like I've been discussing, but everyone loved him so much at the co-working space and I saw how he interacted with his staff and he came so recommended that because he's not my usual type, I still gave him a shot. And I think that there's so much merit. It's like, when you view how some people treat waiters, I always take a mental note. Like if they're rude to a waiter, I'm like, that's not in alignment with my values.
So how did you feel for that first, when you knew it wasn't your type, kept his pants on for one when you went to the bathroom? What was your feeling then when you went for that? Like, why did you go for that? What, like a gut feeling?
Yeah.
How was it? How was the feeling the first date? Was it nervous? Was it like, what am I doing?
No, I was completely comfortable and it was easy and I felt at peace in his presence. He's an attractive guy, so I was attracted to him, but for the first time, not in a lustful way. It was like, I just appreciate that there's attraction, but I didn't necessarily want to like jump his bones. I just wanted to get to know him. And I usually go for alpha males who do like a big song and dance, love bomb me, anything like, peacocks. And he's a lot more reserved and quiet. And so for the first couple of dates, like I could hear pins dropping in China. Like I was like, wow, thank gosh, like I'm a coach, like you're really putting me to work here. But I could just tell that he was a good guy. And slowly but surely I started to recognize that our values were in direct alignment. And I was like, okay, just keep giving him a shot. And then I just got to see like all the different sides of him. And I realized that like people like him are hard to come by. I was single for 9 years, I would know. Yeah. And so even though there were parts of me that was like, okay, this is, not what I'm used to, I also recognized that what I was used to wasn't working for me.
Sweet.
Going back to your comment a minute ago about being an introvert.
Yeah.
Help me understand that, given you're a coach,
Yeah.
I guess in a very niche and out there industry, let's call it.
Yeah.
Why would you class yourself as an introvert?
Well, because I am one. So, the difference between an introvert and an extrovert is that an introvert gains energy on their own, whereas an extrovert gains energy around people. So I am 100% an introvert. But like I've been discussing, seek depth and connection. And so I love that one-on-one dynamic. I also really like helping people. So for me, it's a very rewarding profession. But by the end of the day, I'm like, don't talk to me, don't look at me. Like I just want to chill out with my fur babies and go to bed.
Cats or dogs?
I've got a cat and a dog.
Honestly.
You're ready to judge me.
No.
He loves cats.
I want to see pictures of your cat.
Yeah, she's a rag doll.
Oh,
she's
nice.
beautiful. Yeah, she's stunning.
Awesome.
Love
Like
her.
Quagmire.
But back to your point, what I'm seeing a lot of, I think that this is something that's like so important because I feel like there's such a misconception around infidelity. I specialize in infidelity, so a lot of couples come to me because their partner has cheated. And you're men, so correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that based on my experience that when women cheat, it's usually because that they've emotionally checked out. But in my experience working with a lot of men now, they are not cheating because they don't love their partners. they're cheating because they don't feel loved or desired or needed in their relationships, and they don't feel like they can voice it. And so, you know, it's not an excuse, but it's an explanation, but they look outside of the relationship in order to seek those things.
You spoke earlier about love languages.
Yeah.
Which I think is a massive thing. And so I think that plays a part in that. From a relationship side of things.
Service thing?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you've got words of affirmation, physical touch, gifts, acts of service, and
quality time.
And so you basically do a bit of a test. I can't remember the author, but you do a test and it gives you a little pie chart of who you are.
Oh, it's like the
David
disc.
Chapman, I think. Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah.
It's like the disc profiling at work.
Yeah.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah. It's incredibly useful.
It's super useful.
Yeah.
Super useful, yeah.
So going back to my partner, he's a man of few words, and my love language is words of affirmation, obviously. So Hay didn't tell me that he was attracted to me for the first 5 months of our relationship. Never once said I looked good until I sat him down. I said, "Are you attracted to me?" And he was like, "Yeah, why?" And I'm like, "Be nice, like if you told me every once in a while, like awkward. I get dressed up to, you know, for you." And then he was like, "Oh, okay." And but again, just went back to his old ways. And so it was one repeated conversation over and over again. And he was like, "But you don't know how hard it is for me." And I was like, "I appreciate that, but this is how I like to receive love. So you need to lean into it." And I think that, you know, there's a lesson in that, because 20-year-old me would have dismissed him and, you know, thought that I could find better. But I think that, you know, conflicting love languages is a thing, and typically men aren't always the best with words of affirmation, right? So we need to communicate it in a way that doesn't sound like a criticism and more so an invitation.
Something that's also useful is actually for you, for one of the partners actually just to say to their partner, "This is what I need to hear."
Yes.
So I know that you might find this hard, but I'll give you the words. Because it only takes about 5 or 6 times, and you'll get used to it, and I'm going to get what I want from it.
Absolutely.
But it's just such a simple, useful exercise to do.
Yes.
Sounds so difficult.
No, but you're right. I say that all the time. Make direct requests.
Yeah.
And what you're talking about is reassurance. So I have something that's super lame and my partner is like so over it. But every night in bed, I might list 10 reasons why you love me. And he's like at the point where he just like is listing the same things. But I'm like, just tell me, you know? Yeah. And it's like a bit of a joke now between us. But I'm like, I love hearing it. Because he'll never say it. Yeah. You're like, we would never work.
No, I was just thinking, like if I was about to go to sleep and you said, "Oh, get fucked."
Right?
Hey, Jonas, I got to be up at 3:30.
Yeah. Wait, you're up at 3:30?
Yeah.
Wow.
I love getting up at that time.
Wow, okay. What time are you in bed?
9:30, 10.
Wow, okay, so you're a good sleeper.
No, horrible sleeper.
Oh, wow.
No, this morning I was up at 2.
Wow, yeah. I would love to get up that early, but I'm such a bad sleeper.
Great.
Yeah.
That time of the morning's it's the greatest time in the world.
Yeah.
You got the whole world to yourself. Everyone's
100%.
asleep.
I agree with this.
Yeah, it's really good.
Okay.
I enjoy it.
Yeah.
So I want to know more about your partner, because you said, no, because I feel for the bloke. No, I'm joking. You mentioned, you know, that you wanted to hear that from him.
Yeah.
Has he started doing that? Like,
yeah, as a joke.
Does it take a while to? Oh no. Behind every joke is the element of truth.
Yeah.
No, I just wanted to know. Like, did it take a while for him to sort of
absolutely
to open up to that? Because like that's hard to give someone a compliment as well. Mm-hmm. Like you think it, but thinking it's one thing. Saying it's forced. Mm-hmm. You know.
Yeah.
You know, you might look at your partner, or you look at your partner and you think, you know, she's beautiful. I love this woman, but you'd never say that. Like, I don't know. Maybe that's just me.
Why?
I don't know, because it feels forced and tacky.
Right, yeah, and that was his argument.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's also a Kiwi. They're a bit more reserved, like the Brits.
Oh,
you know? Yeah.
Careful.
Sorry. But yeah, I mean, if I think about who he was in the relationship at the beginning of the relationship and I compare it to who he is now, it's like night and day. Like he's a completely different person. He's so vocal now.
But that goes back to my little ball of clay at the start.
Yeah, right.
So you saw something at the start and you worked on it.
Yeah, and relationships take work, you know, but they shouldn't be hard work.
Agreed.
Yeah.
And what if the person doesn't want to receive work?
Then they're not ready to be in a relationship. It's as simple as that. It's like taking on a job but saying I don't want to work. It's like, okay, well, you know.
Gen Z.
What are you doing here? Yeah.
Just drop that bomb.
Take that.
You mentioned on your website about childhood trauma.
Oh, yeah.
Now, this seems to have reared its head recently. I think Jay Shetty talks about it. A guy called Dr. Gabor Mate, I think, talks about it quite a lot as well.
Yeah, the holistic psychologist.
Yeah, like talk to me about how you bring that and maybe what you see or how you help people navigate or I guess reconnect with things that have happened in their childhood and how that affects them in their adult life and relationships.
Yeah, well, I think that we're just not educated on this, but our childhoods, inform who we are as adults in ways that we, simply cannot comprehend. Like it really becomes our life work, right? And it's something that I refer to as relationship patterning. So typically between the ages of like 0 to 8, that is when a lot of our personality is formed in the way we relate to humans. And, people are, we're just not educated on this, right? And so we kind of just go through life in a very unconscious way and we don't know why we're repeating the same patterns of behavior in our relationships or achieving the same outcome over and over again. And part of my work is helping them to become aware of those patterns of behavior and then identify the root cause.
And so can you give any examples of childhood trauma?
Yeah,
sure. Are we talking alcoholic parents? Are we talking being beaten up? Are we talking maybe the death of a family member?
So all those things. So if we think about attachment styles, right? So again, our attachment styles are typically, formed when we're young, between the ages of 0 to 8. And so, for example, if you grew up in a really unsafe or turbulent home environment, typically you'll fall into one of two categories, which is anxious or avoidant, right? And about 50% of the population falls into those categories, and then the other 50% falls into the category of secure. And avoidant people, they tend to feel overwhelmed by the idea of intimacy or relationships. So they seek out connections because, we are social creatures. We all do want, relationships in one form or another, but they cause overwhelm or panic in them. So when things get too close or too serious, they withdraw or retreat, right? Whereas anxious people tend to want to attach very quickly before that they've even identified if it's a good match, right? And then when the person tries to pull away, they start to exhibit protesting behaviors, where they become very anxious, they call and text repeatedly and just, basically panic, and, if we're not aware of that, it's really hard to, change our patterns, because our attachment styles aren't fixed. But yeah, certainly a death of a parent can cause somebody to fear emotional, intimacy and connection, because that basically, may have taught them that, relationships aren't safe because you can lose people, which causes like an abandonment wound, right?
Wow. I just, sort of, if I was playing, what's that game that you play where you flick the faces down?
Guess who?
Yeah. I flicked up about 10 different people then.
Right.
I was like, oh yeah, that's that person. Oh yeah, that's that person. Oh yeah, that's that person.
It's pretty textbook once you look into it. And
I can't read. No, sorry.
But so that's good, right? Because then by bringing the unconscious into your awareness, you can change these things pretty easily, but it's confronting because you have to confront your past wounds, right? And also take accountability for your actions, recognizing that you're the common denominator in each of your relationships, right? Like I am certainly guilty of a string of incredibly toxic and unhealthy relationships, but that was just because I was, repeating what was modeled to me as a child. And I also took on a lot of what I witnessed as truths about myself, right? So I dated people who confirmed those truths, which were actually self-limiting beliefs, doubts and fears, right? And it wasn't until I recognized that within myself that I was like, oh, wow, like, no wonder I keep attracting douchebags, who cheat on me or, drop me, to go overseas for 2 months and then call me when they get back once they've, slept with everything that moved. And, once I realized that, I was like, okay, no, actually I deserve more. I can have the sort of love that I'm looking for. I just have to change the way, I have to work on my past hurt and change my belief system and the way I think and feel about myself.
So that sounds a bit of an aha moment for you.
Like Buddha. That's very wise.
Talk me through an aha moment that you've had with one of your clients. Because my understanding from what we've discussed about tonight, I think everybody would come in everyone's in a similar space, right? And I think you would create this safe space of comfort and reassurance where it's like, okay, you're not alone. Yeah. Everybody's going on this journey, which is at different stages.
Yeah.
So,
Absolutely.
So you can rest easy a little bit, and then it's kind of helping them rebuild and navigate and find out what they're looking for.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So what's been like an aha? You've had that aha moment for you.
Yeah.
What's been another one that's probably stuck out with one of your clients?
So many. I suppose a recent aha moment would be this guy. I'm really fond of him. He's going through a breakup and he loves his partner, and I want to help them reconcile. But she's just detached, she switched off in the relationship because she tried for a long time to make it work. But whenever she tried to communicate with him, it was met with a lot of resistance and he became quite aggressive verbally. And so we've sort of unpacked that. And what's interesting is his dad abandoned him. He lost his mum and his grandma and his best friend. And so when it comes to relationships, all he's known is loss. And so he's really scared of losing people. And so we looked at, his, we unpacked certain situations with, in his relationship. And then we looked at the fears around those situations and then his coping mechanisms and then basically the unintended consequences of those coping mechanisms. And what he realized was that he resorted to anger out of fear that he was going to lose that person. So he thought if he just dismissed them or attacked them, that it would squash the conversation and that they wouldn't leave. But instead, he was pushing them away and achieving the very outcome that he was hoping to avoid.
And how are you going on that journey?
How am I going on that journey?
Or how are you with the three of you, the two of you?
Yeah, interesting. So he's trying to get her into a couple session. I know that they hung out today and we have our session on Monday, so stay tuned. But it's a work in progress. Yeah.
Have there been people you can't help?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm a coach. I'm not a therapist, so I don't fix people. So people who come to me with a fixed mindset, I can't coach.
So for people that might not be familiar with the nuance between the two, what's the difference?
Yeah, well, therapy, they sort of, people with mental health issues will typically seek out psychologists or psychiatrists. I don't really work with people with mental health issues, and I don't try to fix people. People come to me with a certain goal and I help them achieve that goal. So it's more forward thinking. But it's more like you already have the answer. I'm just going to help you. I'm going to provide you with the tools to get there, right? I'm going to empower you, but they need to have an open and growth mindset in order to take action, right? Somebody who thinks that they are, beyond help or that there's something wrong with them are not going to be open to that sort of instruction or way of being, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
So if that's the case, how do you know that you need coaching? What would you need coaching in? Because the way I'd think about it, if you go to see a coach or a therapist or something like that, you have issues and you want to fix them. But if it's not about fixed mindset, what are you coaching?
Right.
I'm a little bit confused, which is normal for me, but
it's like a goal.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I have been single. I was single for 9 years and I practiced what I preach and I hired a team of coaches. I was like, this is where I want to be. Help me get there. So we would cover the same terrain. It's just a different approach, right? For instance, as an example, somebody could come to me and be like, this is heavy what I'm about to say, but they could come to me and say, I have never been in a healthy relationship and it's because I was raped when I was a child. And I'll say, I'm really sorry you went through that. Happy to go over it, but where do you want to be? I'm going to help you get there, right? If you want to unpack what happened to you back then, you're better off doing that with a psychologist, right?
Yeah, that makes much more sense.
Yeah.
Thank
Right.
you.
Any other questions? Mate?
No, it was good because that's cleared it up extremely.
So the context helps
Yeah.
me, and it informs the, who they are, like and how I approach my sessions. But I'm not going to unpack the past. I'm very future focused, right?
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
I like that approach much better.
So
It's more positive in a lot of ways, but don't get me wrong. Like, there is a need for psychologists and psychiatrists, and I'm more than happy to refer people because it makes my job easier if I'm working with people who want to be coached, right?
Of course.
and so we touched on people you can't help.
Yeah. The fixed mindsets. Yeah.
And so give me an example.
I have so many examples at the moment. People who are, and like, don't get me wrong, it takes a long time to metabolize a lot of the concepts that we cover in our sessions. But people who are, just, they'll come to me and they'll be like, I can't find somebody to date. I can't even get past a first date. And we'll explore why together. And, I'll lay it out all on the table and I'll say, well, this is why and this is what you need to do, but they won't take action. They identify with their past wounding or their self-limiting beliefs, and we're all guilty of that. I certainly was for a really long time, which is why I do what I do, because I don't want people to waste a decade like I did, right? But if they constantly just say, but I can't, or I'm too scared, or come up with a problem to every solution, they're not ready for coaching. Coaching is all about taking action and taking accountability for your life.
Yeah, agreed.
It's like this. Like, if you go to a PT and your PT gives you like a meal plans and an exercise program, but you don't exercise and you're like, but why aren't I losing weight? You're not coachable.
Why are you looking at me? And not him?
Sorry, no.
It's the gym membership. I've got a gym membership.
Yeah.
Have you been?
No, exactly. Or it's like saying I want to be a millionaire, but you won't go to work. Like, join the club.
Gen Z.
Yeah, but like, literally, I will say to them, like, I'll pull my hair out in front of them and be like, it's literally like you're saying to me, Nicole, I want to be a millionaire, but you will not, study or apply for a job. It's like, I can't help you, right?
Which goes back to growth.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Yeah.
What are some of the warning signs? Maybe we've got people listening, right?
Yeah.
And they're going, oh, hang on. I've got X, Y, Z going on here. What are some of the warning signs you see that people could start to do? You said the word communication quite a lot.
Yeah. What do you mean? Like when you're going on a date?
No, well, just in a relationship, right? So you obviously go with couples too. What are some of the, things that people could start to think about in their worlds where they go, oh, okay, I might need to put a bit more effort into, I don't know, a date night, communication, being vulnerable, like. Do you know what I mean?
All those things. Okay, so I think that the biggest thing for me is that people have this false, this misconception that when you enter relationships, your job is done. And I'm like, no, sorry to disappoint. That's when the real work actually begins. It is so easy to work on yourself when you're single, not discrediting how challenging it is to be single, because I've been there and I know, I relate. But actually, you only get tested when you're in a relationship, right? So you can say that you've worked on your triggers, worked on all your past wounding, but guess what? That partner is going to hold up a mirror to all of those things, and you're going to have to like watch yourself, right? You might say things that you don't mean, right? Or behave in ways that are not representative of who you really are, right? And so, or you might become complacent. Just because you got married, all of a sudden you don't think that you need to prioritize date nights, or communicate verbally how you feel about your partner, right? And then all of a sudden you wonder why your partner's leaving you in 5 to 10 years, or you haven't had sex for 6 months to 2 years, or whatever it is, right? And so, there's some of the warning signs. I always say to my couple clients, you need the daily check-in, which is, how are you doing? And then as a couple, you need the weekly check-in, which is, how are we doing? How do you feel about this? How can I support you more, right? This is what I need. Clear communications where you're making, direct requests. Our partners are not mind readers. My partner is a lot more chilled than me. And when he moved in, he just had a certain way of being. And I had to literally make direct requests because it was driving me mad, but he had no idea. He was completely oblivious. He was happy with the way things were, right? And you've got a face on.
No, I was thinking, what other requests apart from the 10 things you've got to say every night?
No, just like, I work from home. So I was like, I love that, you do your laundry once a week, but can you just put the basket away? Like I have clients over. Like things like that that he wouldn't think of because he goes to work every day,
But
right?
it's just like Janet and John communication. Like if someone doesn't know something, they don't know.
Yeah,
you don't know what you don't
exactly.
know.
Like you're as good as the information you're given, right? So
Yeah.
again, it goes back to just communication.
Yeah, or just like agreements. I think agreements are really important. Like my default attachment style was anxious. And so when in conflict, I can't go to bed angry or I have to at the very least resolve conflict within 24 to 48 hours. Avoidance could leave things for days, weeks, if not months or forever, right?
Yeah, I'll deal with it as soon as I can.
Yeah. Men never, let your wife go to bed angry. But, so I think agreements are really important as well. Things like that.
Do you analyze everything with your partner?
No.
No?
He's my teacher.
Yeah. Okay, I was wondering now. I was like, fuck, you'd be like, mate, come on, just give me a break, man. There was nothing intended in that. You know? Let me just leave the fucking basket there for once. No.
Yeah, no, not at all. Yeah. He's a better person than I am. He's way more evolved than I am. I ask him for advice. He teaches me every day. Like, he supports me to be better.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Good little shout out there. I feel like we've been remiss and not talked about your podcast.
Right. Oh, yeah. Cool.
You've got some phenomenal guests on there. You cover a lot of content. How do you choose your guests? And I guess who's been your favourite?
Oh, wow.
We can edit this bit out if you want.
You know what? I choose my guests based on, what's going on in my life or my client's life at the time. And then I find somebody who inspires me. So they're all my favorite at the time that I'm interviewing them. I know that sucks.
That's so British. That's so
No,
British.
but they really are. But they are. Like, I'm in awe of every guest that I interview, right? And it's such a privilege to interview them. So I truly don't have a favorite. I will say this, though. There are some people, because I read every book, every article, I listen to every podcast they've been on. Like, I study my guests. And there have been times where I've interviewed people who are completely different to how they sound, and that's really caught me off guard. So a podcast interviews, as you would know, is not dissimilar to dating. It all comes down to chemistry and connection. So there are some people who I'm just like, yeah, I vibe and I can talk to you for days. And other people are like, oh, okay, this is a little bit harder than I was expecting, right?
For sure.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I know what I mean. I think when we reflect on who we've had on the show, there's not a favourite.
Yeah.
Because they're just, everyone's got their own story.
There's been some difficult ones though.
Yeah.
Well, just dealing with you sometimes.
Yeah, there's been look, I ain't going to
yourself.
sugarcoat it, dude. There's been some difficult ones, man.
Yeah, totally. I've had that experience as well.
No, there hasn't been a Jeff on, has there? If there has,
There has been a Jeff. It was your mate. Who? It was the one we did in Canberra.
Oh yeah, no, I wasn't talking about you, bro. You're right,
He's
Jeff.
probably going to be in therapy now.
No, that's Jeff with a G. That's different. That's why.
Oh, right.
Yeah, I was talking about Jeff with a J.
Oh, okay.
No Jeffs here.
Specific,
Here, no Jeffs.
Did Jeff hurt you?
Nice save. Yeah. Let me unpack that. I need therapy, not coaching, man.
You need a shovel at the moment.
Dig up, stupid.
And so, Nicole, what's the future for the business, for the podcast? Where do you want to take it? Where do you see yourself? This sounds like an interview question, but like with the momentum you've got, I guess the knowledge, the self-experience, but I guess also the learnings from your clients.
Yeah.
Where do you want to take kind of what you're doing?
Yeah, so I would love to create online programs. That's really going to be next for me. I'd also love to create a membership app. I'm also very keen to create a solution to dating apps because most of my clients are not having much success with them. So I don't know what that looks like, but I'm very passionate about it because I struggled with dating apps as well. And as for the podcast, the sky's the limit. Like, I just want to continue interviewing people that I find inspiring. I would love to have my own channel, production company, anything. I'm just saying yes to anything that comes my way.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
What was the term Tamara used in the last show when we were talking about Netflix? It was when you got too many options, you kind of get option paralysis or something like that.
Yeah.
It's like the Chinese menu.
The paradox of choice. That
Something
one.
like that.
Yeah.
Do you reckon that's similar to the apps as well? You just got too much choice.
Absolutely.
We were talking about having smaller menus. She's a nutritionist, and some restaurants do that on purpose. And I said with Netflix, sometimes I just sit there, and I don't know what to watch. I just flick through and all of that. But that's actually a real thing. So do you think that's some of the challenges with apps as well? Is that you just get this paralysis because there's there's too many options. You can just keep scrolling, right?
Yeah.
You just keep going.
So there was, I think it was, I might be misquoting, but I think it was Evan Mark Katz, who is a male dating coach based in the US. I really like him. And I'm pretty sure that he said that when it comes to dating, so there will typically be about 8 to 10 things that you don't like about your romantic partner, if you're lucky. And what we, because of the way modern dating culture is geared, yes, and the cursor comparison that we've been discussing today, people, will look at those 8 to 10 things and think, maybe I can do better. Maybe there's more out there for me. Maybe the grass is greener. So they'll hop on a dating app, right? But really what they're doing is just trading in those 8 to 10 things that they don't like about their current partner for another 8 to 10 things, right? And so for sure, I feel like so many people don't want to commit or define themselves, whether it's with a career, a house, a city, or a partner, because of the paradox of choice that we've been discussing.
Yeah.
But as someone who was single for 9 years, I know how hard it is to find somebody that you're truly compatible with. As Esther Perel says, there are many people that you can love in life, but there are few people you can do life with. And I think there's nothing truer than that.
What a way to end the show.
Yeah.
What a quote to end the show on.
Yeah. Thanks, Esther.
Well, thank you, Nicole.
Thank you.
Been amazing to get you in. Thank you for coming in and saying hello and telling your story and sharing what you do.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
If people are curious to find out a bit more, maybe they want to have a chat.
Yeah.
How do they get hold of you?
Yeah, so they can reach out to me on my Instagram, either at Nicole Colantoni Coaching or love.uncensored.podcast.
Awesome.
Lovely.
We'll put that in the show notes as well.
Yeah,
We will indeed. Thank you very much. It's been very enlightening.
Oh, thank you for having me. I've enjoyed it.
It's been awesome.
Appreciate the lows.
You look exhausted.
No, it's good, man. I really learnt a lot there.
Oh,
it was
great.
good.
Yeah.
It was awesome. You're very wise. You're like a Buddha.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you.
That's good.
Wow.
That's very good.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming on.